uphuza ngathi awujoli wena uvela ujabulisa izitha yangithola uwayekumele umoshe njalo nana wami ngoba lento ihlali yenziwa nguwe inhliziyo yona ivela iphuke why marungetha so uvela uphuza ngathi awujoli wena uvela ujabulisa izitha yangithola uwayekumele umoshe njalo nana wami ngoba lento ihlali yenziwa nguwe inhliziyo yona ivela iphuke
No more. It's in. How will you just listen? Open man. No more job up. It's in. I says put me the more. It says put me the more. I says put me the more. I says put me. I says put me the more. No more. Hey. I says put me this part of it. I'm just a bunch of I says put me the more. It says put me the more. I says put me this part of it. I'm just a bunch of I says put me. It says put me. I says put me this part of it. I'm just a bunch of I says put me the more. It says put no more. It's in. How we let us listen. Oh, fuck. No more. It's in. Assess to me the more. Assess to me the more. Assess to me the more. Assess to me. Assess to me the more. No more. Hey. Assess to me this part of it. I'm just a punchado. Assess to me the more. Assess to me the more. Assess to me this part of it. I'm just a punchado. Assess to me.
What time has it remained? Chukuliwa Uber ama?
Wapi? Oh, wale.
Eh. Mungu wa
Yet. Okay, great. Dear Ministers, Excellencies, dear friends of circular solutions, circular economy. My name is Annika Lindblom and I'm the Director for International Affairs in the Ministry of the Environment, and I'm your moderator during this event. I'm also the co-chair of the 10YFP, so the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production, and that's why this event is so close to my heart, also personally. Our ambition in this official side event of UNEP 7 is to seek circular solutions for achieving sustainable and just transitions and resilient societies for all. Finland is honored to organize this event with governments of Brazil and Senegal, and grateful for the organizational support from UNEP and the Finnish Innovation Fund Sitra. Our aim is to dig into the very essence of circularity and provide tools and mechanisms with which countries and stakeholders can move ahead. We will introduce international initiatives and mechanisms that enable advancing circular economy solutions. And we will showcase examples and solutions on circular economy approaches that contribute to increased socio-ecological resilience that can be replicable to other countries. We have now, let's say, from 1 hour to 1 hour and 15 minutes to go with our event for our deliberations, and we have many inspiring speakers on the agenda. I thank all speakers for cooperation if we need to limit the length of your speech because of, so that we can enable all speakers to speak within our time. But now it is my great honor to kickstart this event by inviting 3 distinguished speakers on stage, one at a time. And first I will call upon Mrs. Sari Multala, Minister of Climate and the Environment of Finland, to give her opening remarks. Please.
Thank you, Annika. Excellencies, dear colleagues, it's a great honor for Finland to host this important event on circular economy solutions alongside UNEP 7. I warmly thank our distinguished co-sponsors, the governments of Senegal and Brazil, the Finnish Innovation Fund Sitra, UNEP and the WWF for your invaluable cooperation in making this gathering possible. Thank you. For Finland, the circular economy is not just a concept. It is a vision for the future. It is an economic model that creates well-being within the limits of our planet, decoupling growth from the use of virgin resources. We believe circular solutions are powerful tools to tackle climate change, halt biodiversity loss, and strengthen resilience while boosting competitiveness. Yet, we recognize our own responsibility. Finland is among the most resource-intensive countries in the world. That is why we are committed to transforming how we produce and consume, through clear legislation, circular design, and markets that turn waste into new opportunities. This work is done hand in hand with companies, cities, universities, and the civil society. We are proud to be pioneers. Finland was among the first countries to set national targets for resource use. Today, we are replacing our Waste Act with a new circular economy law, launching voluntary green deals for concrete steps towards circularity and creating a one-stop shop to support partners and stakeholders. Our startups are innovating in battery recycling, textiles, actions at the international fora, aiming to make circularity a success story. We initiated the World Circular Economy Forum in 2017, now a global platform hosted annually in different parts of the world, most recently hosted in Sao Paulo, and we have led the global work on circular built environment since 2014. We have also wanted to share and scale up the best practices worldwide by supporting the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production and the new EU Circular Economy Resource Centre. Dear participants, resilience and prosperity depend on how we use our natural resources. Circular economy helps us live within the planetary boundaries and thrive. Let us work together to turn our vision into reality. I wish you an inspiring event and success in building new partnerships for a truly circular future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Multala, for your very inspiring words, and especially pointing out that circular economy is not only about environment and economics, but also much about resilience. So now I turn to the European Commission. It is our honor to have Mrs. Jessica Roosvall, the Commissioner for Environment, Water, Resilience, and a Competitive Circular Economy, to provide her input to the discussion. Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, it is a hole here. So, ministers, distinguished guests, delegates, and friends, dear Sally and all the co-organizations, thank you very much for organizing this event. The circular economy is a priority for the EU. I even have it in my title, and also for me personally. And this is a crucial step for our economies and for our environment. Improving the resource efficiency, looking at sufficiency levels of resource use in developed countries, and moving towards a circular economy at global level are preconditions for prosperous, resilient societies and for staying within the planetary boundaries. And we need to step up our efforts to achieve sustainable consumption and production. And we need to start considering taking care of nature and the environment on the one hand, and the competitiveness of our companies and on the other hand. These are two sides of the same coin. There is no contradiction between growth and reducing environmental degradation and primary resource consumption. The International Resource Panel tells us that high-income countries use 6 times more materials per capita and are responsible for 10 times more climate impacts per capita than low-income countries. So, we urgently need to transition all economies from linear to circular development patterns. Obviously, a lot of these efforts needs to come from high-income countries. And this makes sense for the environment and the economy alike. According to the World Economic Forum, another figure that Sari didn't use, but the transition can yield up to $4.5 trillion in economic benefits globally by 2030. The EU, we are doing our part. In 2022, together with UNEP and UNIDO, we launched the Global Alliance of Circular Economy and Resource Efficiency, which advocates for the transition in a multilateral fora. We support the 10-year framework program on sustainable consumption and production patterns, and the Global Strategy 2022 to 2030 of its board. And last year, in cooperation with Citra and others, the European Commission launched an EU Circular Economy Resource Centre. You will hear more about both of them and in a moment, but just let me say that we need to step up global action to achieve this SDG 12 goal on sustainable consumption and production. The circular economy model makes a key contribution towards that goal, contributing to climate neutrality, nature positive and clean economies that use our resources efficiently. I'm really looking forward to hearing the voices here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Roosevelt, for your valuable input and also pointing out the economic benefits of transitioning to a circular economy. Our third speaker in the opening session comes from Mexico. It is my pleasure to invite Mrs. Norma Manguia, Director General of Global Issues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico, to the stage. The floor is yours now.
Good afternoon, well, good evening, actually, everyone, distinguished guests, and my speakers also, and colleagues. Allow me to begin by greeting Ms. Sari Multala, Minister of Climate and Environment of Finland. Thank you for the kind invitation. And Ms. Jessica Roswell, Commissioner for Environment, Water Resilience, and Competitive Circular Economy of the European Commission. It is a great honor to join these opening remarks for this event, enabling circular solutions for achieving sustainable and just transitions and resilient societies. We meet at a moment when a lot of environmental pressures are on. As a minister from Finland already mentioned, we are about to enter a very terrible environmental crisis if we do not do something about it. This interconnected crisis make clear that a linear model of take, make, use, and dispose is no longer compatible with a sustainable future. The circular economy provides not only an alternative pathway, but an imperative for transforming our systems to reduce waste, regenerate natural capital, and decouple economic growth from environmental degradation. As across the world, momentum is growing. We've heard from the European Union, and we know they have placed circularity in the core of its climate and competitiveness agendas, demonstrating how policy coherence, cross-border cooperation, and investment in innovation can accelerate transitions. Initiatives such as the EU Circular Economy Resource Center show how regional mechanisms can build capacity, share knowledge, and support countries in designing scalable circular solutions. Other regions we know are moving forward. Brazil and Senegal, who are also hosting this event, are developing meaningful national policies that illustrate how circularity can drive economic opportunity, support local livelihoods, and strengthen socio-ecological resilience. Mexico is fully committed to this global effort. Our Ministry of the Environment has established a dedicated office to mainstream circularity across sectors and strengthen institutional capacity. Just last week, while we are here, December 9th, we reached a historic milestone. Mexico approved its general law on circular economy. The law introduces essential elements, incentives for recycling industries, and measures to strengthen circular value chains nationwide. It represents a decisive step toward a more resource-efficient, low-waste, and inclusive economic model. Yet, we all know that legislation is only the beginning. What truly matters is implementation and enforcement. Building the right enabling conditions, mobilizing finance, ensuring strong governance, and fostering collaboration between governments, businesses, academia, and communities. Events like today's are crucial because they provide a space to exchange solutions that work, identify barriers, and replicate good practices across countries and regions. As we engage in this discussion, let us reaffirm our collective commitment to building economies that are regenerative, competitive, and resilient, and that enhance the well-being of people and communities. The transition to a circular economy is not only possible, it's already happening, it's very needed. Our task now is to scale it, accelerate it, and ensure it delivers benefits for all. Thank you again for the invitation, and welcome to the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Director General, and thank you for your leadership in circular economy. And I think we can all applaud the birth of the new circular economy law of Mexico. In Finland, it's only in the making, so maybe we can consult you and ask for best back practices. Great. Okay, now we move to the next next segment of our event. Keynote speeches. We have 2 keynote speeches, these 2 speeches provides insights on the work of International Resource Panel and UNEP on sustainable use of resources and its linkages to well-being and equity and resilience. First, my privilege is to have Dr. Janet Potočnik, co-chair of the International Resource Panel, in our side event. He will shed light on the key outcomes of the most recent edition of Global Resources Outlook and provide with a snapshot of the key policy recommendations from that report and the way forward. So, Janet, the floor is yours. Is it working? Yes, it's going.
Yes, it's only that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, don't worry. Few minutes for science, which I think in circular economy story are quite important. Your Excellencies, it's a pleasure to be here today. And dear friends, let us immediately go, because we don't have a lot of time, to some of essential things. What is the International Resource Panel work telling us? It's telling us that economy championed by industrialized nations is wasteful and also unjust. It's telling us that we must shift away from the prevailing resource wasteful economic approach because it's simply ethically and ecologically unsustainable. In short, we must set the order right. You know, economy was invented to serve humans and our needs and not the opposite. So if we look to one of the main things which IRP is telling you, extraction and processing of materials alone, it's basically driving the triple planetary crisis. We can explain 60% of global climate change impacts, 40% of pollution health impacts, and practically all water stress and land-related biodiversity impacts. So if you want to go to the drivers, go to the way how natural resources and particular materials are used. As already mentioned by Commissioner, high-income countries use 6 times more materials per capita and are responsible for 10 times more climate impacts per capita than low-income countries. The highest growth in the last 20 years is happening in middle-income countries, and the unfortunate part of the story is that low-income countries remain mostly on a low level and unchanged. So our advice is decoupling of resource use from economic activity and human well-being, it's a must, and altogether we should decouple from the environmental impact. So looking to all the resources, focusing on those provisioning systems which are most material intensive, nutrition, environment, mobility, and energy. And circular economy in that context, it's the instrument to deliver that decoupling. And that's exactly how you should understand it. So what is actually happening currently? We are moving from fossil to metals, minerals economy. So we are going down with the fossil fuels, which are, of course, part of materials, but going up with metals and non-metallic minerals consumption. What is our major message is that actually this is simply not good enough, and we should look through the circular economy transition that we basically reduce the energy and material use and provide human needs in a more rational way. So if we would look to the thing which many are already doing, our point is, yes, many of circular economy examples are encouraging and we should share them. But if you want to make circular economy a norm, we need a system change. If I use the quote from a famous Brazilian colleague, don't waste time chasing butterflies, mend your garden, and the butterflies will come. So what we try to say in that call to action, which I will talk till the rest of my presentation, it's actually exactly that. What needs to be done that we change those basic rules? And with my colleague, co-chair, we are proposing 4 actions which are based on global resource outlook recommendations. First, better orientation. Set the resource path, as already mentioned by the Finnish minister. Better measurement, better economic incentives, and finally, better transparency coordination, so improving the governance in the area of materials, which is pretty much lacking. I will talk about one slide, better orientation, and one about better governance. So let me say something. So high-income countries, which already have high stocks of materials, would need to go with their yearly material flows down. And they can go if they use circularity logic intensively in their economies. While low-income countries would need to grow per capita, but of course also respecting circularity resource efficiency measures. This is consistent with our absolute decoupling and relative decoupling scientific approach. We are currently working seriously on defining a corridor for a material use target. This is basically a teaser, because I simply do not have time to go into details. But some kind of corridor of resource use which is consistent with environmental needs and social needs that the low-income countries would start closing the gap with high-income countries are part of our logic and approach. So this is the work which is currently in development, but I can say that it's pretty promising. When it comes to the governance, a lot of today talking about the need for a kind of global material data hub or international material agency, if you want, which would on one hand cover market information system, which is currently pretty much scattered and missing. A lot are working on that, but there is no dedicated body or institution which would be working on that, doors on which you would knock if you would have the needs. And it would need to be also a kind of potentially policy coordinator. So to summarize what I wanted to say in this short presentation, material management deserves proper recognition and attention in policy space. Currently, it's lacking. It's not matching the attention which we are giving to energy transition and to GHG emissions. Second, energy transition, as much as needed, will not make our economy less wasteful and more just. So we need to focus on all materials we use, including fossil fuels, in all our economic sectors, or if I'm more precise, in all our provisioning systems delivering our human needs. Third, we should define a resource use path. High-income countries should lower their material footprint, should lower their flows. This should help us make the necessary space for developing countries to be able to meet essential human needs, while we would altogether stay within planetary boundaries, which is the aim. Fourth, circular economy. It's an instrument helping us delivering the necessary decoupling. Many examples of circular economy practice are encouraging, but to make it a norm, we need a system change. Market signals are critical. We should make circular economy economically attractive. Currently, it's not. We must stop signaling producers that extraction-based economic success is most profitable. And finally, international supply chains are complex. To better coordinate overall economic transformation and circularity efforts, we need to improve global material governance. This is in short, so remember forever, strong minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and weak minds discuss people. Let's discuss ideas. So thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this insight. And of course, science, evidence-based decision-making is our guiding principle and should be. And I think that there are very powerful messages for all of us, whether we live in north or south or east or west. So thank you for those, and we will take them all home. Our next keynote comes from, I would say, my friend, Stephen Stone from UNEP. He's a Deputy Director in UNEP's Industry and Economy Division, and he will provide a snapshot of UNEP's activities and engagement in promoting sustainable consumption and production and circular economy. The floor is yours.
So I was going to say, Yannis, you're a tough act to follow, because that was simply brilliant. I mean, we see the data, but the data comes to life. We see the science comes to life. And that's really the only way that we're going to have policy change that's grounded on science, is if the science comes to life. So I think that's part of the objective tonight, is to actually bring that science forward. Am I getting an echo? Sounds a bit strange to me. No, it's okay. So that's how it happens. And so anyway, thank you very much, Yannis, for that. Excellencies, ministers, those of you who are here, really grateful for your attention, really grateful to Finland for the support to UNEP in so many ways, but particularly to the 10-year framework of programs, where we have the pleasure of Annika being our co-chair for the 10-year framework of programs, Janez Potočnik, the co-chair of the International Resources Panel hosted by UNEP, and so many different of these instruments which essentially bring the science together and put it into the policy space. Now, for sustainable consumption and production, SDG 12, it is a tough nut to crack. It's probably the hardest of the Sustainable Development Goals because it's everything. It's consumption and it's production. How do we shift this system of production and consumption to make it sustainable and equitable? That's the question. I want to share with you 3 ideas for tonight. The first, unlocking. How do we use science and data to unlock the benefits from sustainable consumption and production? How do we do this? We have some clues. We were talking about one just before the event. Digital information systems, digital product information systems, where the consumer is aware of what I am consuming and where it came from, so traceability, but producers potentially reap the benefit of responsible production, which is a total shift from what we have today. Because if you're a commodity producer, if you're exporting coal or copper, what's the difference between responsible copper and, well, I don't know what, and unresponsible copper? We don't know because we can't trace. We just assume that it's all responsible. With digital technology, we can get to the point where it's traceable. And that actually was at the back of one of the resolutions that was put on the table at this UNEA, was around traceability. Traceability is just taking a very basic concept, which is value at origin. Think of appellation contrôlée. I live in France, so I love appellation contrôlée. But also coffee from the Blue Mountains of Jamaica, cacao from Ecuador. It's the origin that gives value to the producer. Sustainable consumption and production. So the data, how do we unlock that value? So that's number 1, unlocking. Number 2, enabling. So unlocking, enabling. For circular economy to have traction, it needs to benefit everybody. It can't just benefit a few. It can't just benefit resource-scarce countries. And Minister, we heard from you in Finland, you're a resource-rich country, but there are poor countries, resource-exposed countries. We understand the logic there for resource efficiency. What is the logic for a producer of primary commodities? We have to shift the balance so that they actually see the value to them, so it becomes value addition. So responsible production, but also value addition. And that's a tough one to crack as well, because without traceability, we actually can't get to that point. So value production for primary commodities, because then eventually they see the circular economy as being part of their value proposition. The other one is jobs. Jobs is colossal. Last week I was at an event with ILO. They launched a major report on jobs in the circular economy. So this is the first time actually anyone has taken a snapshot of all the employment in the circular economy using international statistics. Don't ask me the codes, there's huge codes. How many jobs? Over 140 million jobs in the circular economy. What percentage is that of total employment? Under 10%. It's actually closer to 6. Until the circular economy starts producing jobs, it's going to be tough. And so that's part of the challenge, is building the jobs inside of the circular economy, particularly for countries that have huge demographics of youth, where they need those jobs. They need that income. I did want to say on that job study, which is really interesting, you can Google it, jobs in the circular economy. They were not able to quantify the jobs in the informal economy. It's only formal. So if you think of agriculture, which has more than 1 billion people in it, those people are not included, right? So the informal economy may be much larger than the formal economy. Enabling, so unlocking was science, data, and technology. Enabling through policy, through job creation, through value addition, through diversification. And then, I know it's getting late, I'll be quick. The last one is shifting. And shifting is important because what we need to shift actually is demand. Demand is huge. The consumer is king. Advertising is an $800 billion a year industry, $800 billion. That is stimulating consumer demand every year. So responsible consumption, how does that happen? Well, part of it is responsible advertising. Part of it is using the demand-side shifters that exist in government power as well. Sustainable public procurement, trillions of dollars every year, 10 to 15% of global GDP. These are big shifters, and I know a lot of governments are using sustainable public procurement to create new markets for circular products and for green products. The last one, of course, is consumer information, which I already mentioned, which is a key part of the 10-year framework of program, which actually focuses on shifting demand across different preferences. So unlocking, enabling, shifting, those are the 3 mantras for tonight. I want to end by thanking our partners, and there are many in the room, including WBCSD, the ITU, just want to make sure I get them all. Of course, the IRP, of course, WBCSD, the International Chamber of Commerce, ITU, and many, many others. It's a big year coming up. There's the World Circular Economy Forum in India, which is wonderful, and we're really looking forward to that. And there's also the Global Framework of Chemicals in November. Why chemicals? You heard me talk about this earlier. Because at the basis of all products is the ability to remove toxicity, lower toxicity, because if the materials are not toxic, then they can be recycled, including plastics. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Stephen, for providing this broad picture of what you are doing in UNEP together with the member states, and I think that's very valuable, and we are very happy to be part of that journey together with you. So now we are going to introduce 2 particular initiatives that provide tools and collaboration platforms to countries who want to accelerate the transition to sustainable, just and circular economies. So not just talks, but really concrete mechanisms, concrete platforms, concrete instruments that can then help countries and others to make the shift. First, we'll hear, well, Stephen already mentioned, I already mentioned the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production, the so-called 10YFP. And we will hear now a video message from the head of One Planet Network Secretariat of the UNEP, Mr. Jorge Laguna Celis, who unfortunately cannot be here, but he will open up what the 10YFP is about and what are the benefits for countries and stakeholders. So if you can start the video. Thank you.
Excellencies, colleagues and partners, it is a privilege to join you today on behalf of the One Planet Network and the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production at this critical juncture of the 7th sessions of the United Nations Environmental Assembly. At the outset, let me thank you for the hard work you are doing for people and planet, and allow me to appreciate the organizers of this event and each and every member state that is sharing its voice today. In particular, I want to also thank our partners, the Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra, and WWF, for the opportunity to contribute to this important side event and to share how the One Planet Network as a global initiative is advancing the shift to a circular economy and achieving patterns of sustainable consumption and production worldwide. Dear colleagues, our world consumes over 106 billion tons of materials every year, and this figure is rising. We know, thanks to the figures and the science of the International Resources Panel, that the current patterns are incompatible with climate, nature, and development goals. We need to change the way we think, act, and then inspire others to achieve sustainable development and just transitions. And this is precisely what the One Planet Network is doing, thanks to your support, your resources, your political commitment, and your partnerships. We are over 12,000 members worldwide, and we are UNEP's engine for change. We focus on 4 areas in which we try to advance solutions for sustainable, competitive, resilient, and circular economies. And today I will present just 4 concrete examples. First, let's look at the work that we do on public procurement. We are helping and working with governments to move the significant resources that they have at their disposal and their purchasing power to drive circular markets. For example, the Global Framework for Action on Circular Public Procurement is helping governments lock in low-carbon, resource-efficient growth in the built environment. This is as critical as buildings account for over 37% of global emissions and half of the total material use. Let me now speak about our work on consumer information and how we are empowering choices through transparency and digital tools. You will hear from some of our speakers today, or have done so, of the work on the Global Circularity Protocol for Business. Now I want to share to you a bit of our work on the digital product information systems. In this regard, we are building global standards for sustainability data, enabling business and consumers to make informed choices and fight greenwashing. Our third area of work is skills and lifestyles. In this area, we equip youth for the jobs and the behaviors that are required to perform successfully in the competitive labor market of tomorrow. The Green Jobs for Youth Pact, which is a very important initiative of Stockholm Plus 50 that UNEP, together with ILO and UNICEF, is implementing, we are one of the strategic partnerships in which we are creating pathways in which a number of important young people and entrepreneurs are gaining circular economy skills. The vision that we have for the future is working together with all the leading agencies, is reaching over 7 million of new jobs globally by 2030 through our work on Green Jobs for Youth. Skills is absolutely important and is critical for enabling a transition to a circular economy. But we should not forget about governance. Embedding circularity into climate, biodiversity, and pollution agendas at the level of decision-making processes is absolutely key. The project Building Circularity into the NDCs, a practical toolbox, is already supporting important countries from Brazil to Zimbabwe to integrate circular economy into their climate strategies, raising ambition and ensuring a just transition for all. Change, we know it's possible. And our report to the high-level political forum is telling the story. Change is happening. Let's make circularity the default. How can we turn procurement into purpose, using data for decisions, and also using skills for enabling just transitions? Together, we can build economies that deliver well-being, equity, and sustainability for all. I want to thank you for your time, your commitment, and your leadership.
So thank you, Jorge. Now I'm happy to invite Mrs. Johanna Suikkanen to the podium. I must tell you that Johanna has been the key organizer also of this event, so I really appreciate the support and collaboration with Sitra and with Johanna in organizing this event. So we are very good at multitasking, so you can see there is an example of that. So Johanna is a senior lead from the Finnish Innovation Fund Sitra, and she's going to introduce now the newly established EU Circular Economy Resource Centre, EU CERC, that serves as a collaboration platform on circular economy between the EU and partner countries. So, Johanna, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Johanna Suikkanen, and I work at the Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra. Sitra is the initiator of the World Circular Economy Forum, which brings together the circular economy community annually every year at some part of the world. Today, I'm excited to have a chance to tell you about the European Union Circular Economy Resource Centre, which is the newest initiative in Sitra's Global Circular Economy Programme. The EU Circular Economy Resource Centre was launched this year. The centre is funded by the European Commission under the Global Gateway Strategy and the Finnish Ministry for Foreign Affairs. We implement the centre together with Enable, the Belgian Agency for International Cooperation. The centre was launched to respond to the need to accelerate the transition to circular economy and better coordinate our efforts. The centre promotes circular economy uptake by facilitating collaboration between the European Union and partner countries, organizations, experts, and their peers across 4 regions in Latin America, Africa, Asia, and the European neighborhood. The EU CERC, as we call it, has 3 labs, as shown on my slide. Under the Policy Lab, we support the development and implementation of circular economy policy. We contribute resources to the development of national circular economy at the national level, strategic level, including roadmaps and action plans, as well as their operationalization. Here we very much look forward to collaborating with Chatham House and UNEP to learn from trends in circular economy roadmaps globally and to putting those learnings into practice. The centre contributes to raising a readiness related to European circular economy policies where relevant. For example, the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulation relates to market access and also presents opportunities in value chains in the near future. Finally, we are still now inviting applications for the EU CERC Policy Implementation Award, which celebrates best practice circular economy policies with measurable results and will be announced at next year's World Circular Economy Forum in India. We also work under the Knowledge Lab to facilitate exchanges and mutual learning, including short-term technical assignments and collecting best practices. In Europe, together with the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform and globally in collaboration with our networks. Our business lab enhances business readiness on a very practical level with strengthening capacities of business support organizations. For example, we have this week just launched a call for expression of interest on a circular economy hub for East Africa, and also just closed applications for the EU CERC Business Awards, which will also be announced at the World Circular Economy Forum in 2026. All these activities of the EU CERC aim to encourage new partnerships and exchanges which contribute to accelerating a transition to the circular economy globally. We very much look forward to continuing the conversation with you in the run-up to and in the context of the World Circular Economy Forum in India next year. I very much thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Johanna, and I hope that many of you found EU CERC interesting, and now you certainly know with whom you can make contacts if you are interested after this event for further talks. Okay, but now we move to our panel session, and I'm inspired to introduce 3 panelists representing government, private sector, and civil society. And now I will ask the panelists to come to the podium. So first, it's my honor to welcome the Minister of Environment of Peru, His Excellency Miguel Espichan, to take the floor here on the podium. Then we have Mr. Quentin Druel, Senior Director from the World Business Council on Sustainable Development. And finally, last but not least, certainly, Mr. Alex Kupasu, Policy and Green Economic Coordinator from WWF Kenya. I think we have the microphones. I will take one. Thank you. Now we test, yes. Maybe I sit here so I see you better. Great. So let's start with our government representative, Minister Espichan. It would be really interesting to hear your experience of working on circular economy and about the enabling policies already in place in Peru and about your implementation of circularity in your country.
Thank you. Good evening to all representatives. Thanks to Finland government for the event and the possibility to talk about the Peruvian experience. And also, I would like to thank you to the European Union because its support into the Peruvian transition to a circular economy. Actually, Peru has supported a systemic and fair transition since 2016. First of all, we take it circular economy from the policies, from the public policies, and after that we put into the sectors with a roadmap and other instruments for implementation. Initially, the circular economy was incorporated into environmental legislation in solid waste management and also in economical policies that we call the national competitiveness and productivity policies in 2018 and 2019. After that, in 2025, we approved a roadmap for the circular economy in manufacturing and domestic trade that was approved for the industry sector. Similarly, the tourism sector published its draft roadmap towards the circular economy in 2025. So, in Peruvian experience, the circular economy went from being a principle in waste management, first of all, to becoming a country strategy incorporated into national policies and sectors. The main mechanism of this framework includes the National Roadmap for Circular Economy to 2030, approved in 2025 by the Environmental Ministry, and also the National Circular Economy Coalition, Peru Circular Economy, which is part of the governance of the aforementioned roadmap. In addition, circular economy have been incorporated again in the National Competitiveness and Productivity Plan. But it's not all. In 2024, also we incorporated milestones related to circular economy using financial instruments, with the green financial instrument. That is very important because the Ministry of Environment implement actions to channel funds from financial institutions and impact funds to promote circular economy, first of all, in biobusinesses. Minang, the Minister of Environment, is responsible to meeting the following milestones. The National Roadmap for Circular Economy to 2030. Also, we have the recognitions of clean production agreements in the circular economy. So we have also 5 regional nodes to promote circular economy and the platform for knowledge management for circular economy. Also, the circular economy approach is aligned to our National Strategic Development Plan from 2050, fostering a more inclusive, diversified, and resilient economic growth. But not only that, we also focus on foster concrete results. According to our assessment, the expected results from National Circular Economy Roadmap shows the transformative potential of circular economy in Peru. Around, for instance, 14 billion in Peruvian soles in contribution to our GDP. More than 300 new jobs, the prevention of consumption of 75 million tons of material. So for us, and also mobilize 3 billion in public and public investment in circular projects. So for us, it's very important because with this, we can contribute of circularity to our climate change mitigation and adaptation goals. Finally, I appreciate the support of the European Union cooperation in the development of the National Roadmap to a Circular Economy to 2030. It's a key partner in promoting the transition to circular economy in our country. Finally, I would like to highlight Peru's commitment to transitioning from a linear economy into the circular economy, not only from the environmental sector, but for other sectors, for other ministers, such as housing, industry, tourism, transportation, also solid waste that is that we in charge. This platform, well, basically that we are into these big steps, and we hope to fostering our goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I think it's very impressive, and I think your journey or your pathway has been similar to many others that first start with the waste management and then move to more comprehensive life cycle approach. So it's really interesting, and also the way in which you have introduced many tools and many instruments, different like a variety of instruments to advance circularity in your country. So thank you for that. Then we move to Quentin, World Business Council on Sustainable Development. Of course, business and private sector is a key partner, key player in circular economy. But what challenges do business face in the shift to circular economy, and what advantages or opportunities will the global circularity protocol that you have introduced and developed can bring globally to different countries or in global value chain?
Well, thank you for the question. For those that aren't familiar, I work for the WBCSD, the World Business Council on Sustainable Development, which is an organization formed by UN Charter 30 years ago to bring together 250 of the world's largest businesses to work on sustainability challenges. And one of the challenges that we heard loud and clear from our business members on circularity was there is no consistency in how circularity is defined, how it's measured, and how it could be disclosed to stakeholders. And so that was a big barrier because it meant that internally there was no consistency or in the understanding internally within different departments of organizations. There was no real way that businesses could collaborate effectively with partners up and down supply chains. And certainly, the situation where they were disclosing to stakeholders, particularly financial market stakeholders, weren't comparing apples with apples. So that's why we decided to work on the Global Circularity Protocol, which we launched in Belém on the 11th of November, so just over 4 weeks ago. with the objective of bringing that consistency into that space so that the collaborations could happen, the understanding and alignments which needed to happen on circular economy could also become more effective and scale up. One of the important parts that I touched on there was the consistency of disclosure to financial markets. Because we believe at the WBCSD that if we are able to consistently disclose sustainability information and circularity information to stakeholders, investors, and they can make risk-adjusted decisions on where to place their capital, so the companies who are able to demonstrate that they have de-risked themselves from linear risk most effectively will enjoy superior returns on their capital and be able to invest that into innovation and infrastructure projects on the circular economy, and so close that virtuous circle. So the Global Circularity Protocol is step one. We know that there's still a lot of work to do. Data, consistency and data exchange is another big challenge that we are starting to look at with our members. How does consistent data flow up and down supply chains? How do companies know what materials are in a product, what the provenance of those materials are, and importantly, how that product is disposed of at end of life or where it goes after its first life? So important topic. And then thirdly, consistency in the policy landscape. Our business members see that there is fragmentation and inconsistency in the policy landscapes across their global supply chains. And so we're struggling to understand what they need to do in various different markets. So that the more that we can harmonize the policy landscape, the more businesses will be able to scale up their circular economy efforts. So 3 challenges there: inconsistency, data, and policy.
Thank you so much. And I think the government, at least the government of Finland, is very much appreciates the way in which you have actually introduced or engaged in this public-private partnership in UN fora, but also in different initiatives, for instance, within the 10YFP and One Planet Network. So it's very important that the governments are not talking not just between themselves, but also with the private sector. And indeed, also with the civil society. And then we move to Alex, WWF Kenya, and what the role of civil society in all this is. So I'm curious to know, how can civil society boost circularity and new sustainable solutions in countries based on your experience in Kenya? What is your role?
Thank you very much. And so civil society at the heart of our work is to really feel the beat of communities and how they feel and interpret a lot of the processes that are going on by government and also businesses. So the first critical role that CSOs have done and continue to play is to be able to challenge the status quo and also not just challenge, but be at the intersection of policy and policy making and businesses, because these two dipoles, very powerful institutions, need the feel of the ground. So civil society continue to play a critical role in ensuring that the policy and the legal frameworks that are going to be instituted are fit for purpose to ensure that human health, the environment is taken care of, but also make sure that everything is being taken care within the planetary boundaries. The second area of intervention that CSOs continue to play is around entrepreneurship and driving innovation. So a lot of engagements and projects that civil society organizations play within the circularity space are really homegrown and trying to solve the deeply entrenched problems within communities. And one of the critical solutions is to drive entrepreneurship to ensure that while financing remains a challenge, especially for small, micro, and small businesses, there is the room around helping these businesses, very good innovative ideas, to actually get a foot in the door, to be prepared, and then they can be able to attract further resourcing. The third and final point, and this is a challenge also to all the civil society organizations, is around collaboration, because there is deep knowledge among several diverse civil society organizations. But the challenge comes in if, for example, I could give the example of Mombasa, where I work in. There are multiple civil society organizations working on the topic of, say, plastic. So a lot of resources dispersed all across. So there is the critical role around how can we leverage on the various technical knowledge among the different civil society organizations, harness it, and be able to drive sustainable change. So the civil society organizations are present here. I see quite a number of them. We are at that intersection, and will continue to hold governments and businesses responsible, but in a manner that drives real and tangible change. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you nailed sort of the idea that exactly how I also think that the civil society organizations are the watchdogs, but they are also partners. So it's like a dual but very important role that you play. Okay, now I will just one short round. I would ask every one of you to say one success factor and one challenge in the transition to circular economy. Very short. And who wants to start? Alex.
I have the mic, so I can give. So one success factor in Kenya, for example, there is the leveraging of digital technology to drive circularity. And we have seen this with a lot of young people coming up with solutions around driving, collection, data, and monitoring. So the digital environment and artificial intelligence and all is really a critical area that we are all harnessing. The challenge, and one of the reports by UNEP Financial Initiative and also Gasere recently on financing, only about 350 billion out of up to 7 trillion that goes into sustainable financing is what is going into circularity and circular economy. So there is need to be able to drive sustainable financing because these businesses require a lot of resources. And if you're not going to drive resources to these solutions, then we might be here a little longer. Thank you.
Quentin.
Thank you. So firstly, in terms of successes, so when I speak to our members, what I see is that there is no shortage of ideas on how to move to a more circular model, to innovate, to drive business value from circularity. The challenge is that current economic system still favors the linear model. It's still cheaper to procure virgin resources. It's still, and it means an economic shift that will require capital infrastructure investment to move the linear systems which have been honed over the last 150 years and optimized to a new circular model. That funding, that investment needs to be found to make that transition, and that's the big challenge that I see at the moment.
Minister.
Thank you. Well, one of the strengths I think is the commitment of in the case of Peruvian experience, of the sectors, but that is moved because of the standard of the market. The market is changing. It's changing and put into the economy and the productions of goods and services into a new standards. So the answer from the economic sectors is to have this model, economic circularity. We hope to put into this change faster than the three environmental crises we suffer. The challenge I think is we always focusing into the market of goods and services, but I think the big challenge is into finance market, the public and the private. How to compel the finance market into these initiatives, not only into the microfinance, only also for instance in the public debt, how to put into indicators, to environmental indicators. Yep, that's it.
Thank you so much for your insights, all three. I think that you hopefully, at least I was inspired, and you can also encourage other governments, businesses, and civil society organizations to accelerate the transition into a circular economy. So let's give an applaud to our panelists. Thank you. Okay, our time has now come into an end, almost. It is my honor to ask Mr. Francisco Souza, Minister Counselor from Embassy of Brazil in Nairobi, to deliver the concluding remarks of this event. And Brazil has been our distinguished co-sponsor also of this event, so I'm very happy to have you here. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief. Let me start, ministers, excellencies, colleagues, thanking the organization and also praising the organization, because I think this was very well organized and inspiring. We had keynote speeches, opening remarks, a panel, a video. I think time ran and we didn't feel as much as we feel when we are there fighting for brackets inside the room. Inspiration is important. I will try to relate everything we heard. It's a very hard job, I must confess. So as an active member of 10YFP, Brazil is very honored to deliver this closing remarks. And I think we heard a lot about resilience and well-being. I would like to highlight these two keywords. I think the minister said, the Director General from Mexico also said that approaches of circular economy and advancing them are very important for resilience and for well-being. We also heard a lot about systemic change. Let me also highlight that word. I think we heard from the resource panel on systemic change need, the idea of promoting systemic change that integrates both the social, economic, and the environmental dimensions, ensuring that no one is left behind. The relationship with SDG 12 on sustainable consumption and production, which was mentioned by UNEP and others. A hard nut to crack, as it was put, but a very important nut to crack. Enabling is another important word. Enabling conditions, I think the businesses sector touched upon it, the UNEP also. Enabling conditions for circular solutions as essential to accelerate the progress towards these SDGs, but also other SDGs, maybe all SDGs. And I think this is also in line with the broader conversation here at UNEA. Experience sharing of replicable solutions that can strengthen this. I think we heard about how to get together these replicable solutions at the initiative itself, at the CIRC knowledge component. Then we heard about multi-stakeholder engagement. We just had a panel with business, civil society, and international cooperation in the scale-up of initiatives. I think Mexico also mentioned this. Then the importance of linking to communities and ecosystems in the field and not only at the policy level, but also at the policy level. And at the policy level, we had examples of laws in Mexico, in Finland, in Peru. Also in Brazil, we have a national circular economy strategy and a national circular economy plan. Peru also mentioned, I don't know if it's a council or a panel, we have a forum in Brazil that puts this together. Peru also mentioned the fact that it cannot be only in the Ministry of Environment. We need the involvement of other 9 ministries. In Brazil, the leading ministry for the strategy is the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Services. So this is part of the broader long-term industrial policy to boost innovation. Innovation is another important word that just came up. I think we should also recognize. One Planet mentioned the issue of strategizing around this. Inclusion is another important aspect. In Brazil, we attribute a lot of value for waste pickers and informal workers. We heard about informality and jobs earlier. Waste pickers are the invisible agency of circular economy in our country, and looking at the benefits for vulnerable groups is an important component of this conversation in our understanding. Decent jobs and making jobs ever more decent is another principle that inspires us. As many might be aware, at the G20 we worked precisely on the principles, and decent work, innovation, health protection, access to finance were among these principles. I think there's also a recognition of regional work being done. So we heard about the European initiatives in Latin America. We have a coalition on circular economy that we also have the honor to preside. We work with countries that are very different from each other. So last year, for those that were here, there was a resolution on circularity in the sugarcane sector put together by Brazil and Cuba. Let us also not forget that. There is the importance of the World Circular Economy Forum that was mentioned, a great initiative launched by Sintra and others, mentioned also by the minister. There is the International Resource Panel. Both met recently in Sao Paulo, and we look forward to the next World Circular Economy Forum in India. So I think all these actions reflect that there is a building up strong commitment to advancing circularity as a driver of sustainable development, both at the domestic level in various countries and international. And to conclude, let us seize this moment to build a ever more inclusive and sustainable future in which prosperity, the environment, and dignity for all people can go hand in hand. Thank you very much for this invitation, for coming, for participating, for inspiring.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sousa. Very good summary, I think, of this very lively and discussion with so many speakers. So, excuse me. So I think just my very, very brief last words, my takeaway from this very insightful event. I think that, as we heard today, we have the knowledge, we have the technologies, we have expertise, we have the institutions, we even have the finances, actually. What we now need is political determination. That is, indeed, we have heard in this room, it exists. And we need strengthened environmental multilateralism that aligns global ambition with the national implementation. So with these words, I thank you for your participation and have a nice evening. Thank you.